Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. So the two best words in sports, Game 7. How did we get here in Game 7? Well, we got here because a Boston Celtic team in the first three games was completely pushed around. More than anything, they were pushed around. And it was one guy who decided to stand up to the tough guy. Because I don't think Jimmy Butler's a bully. I think he's a tough guy more than he is a bully. I don't want to put that tag on him because bullies are the biggest punks that you ever want to meet. And Jimmy Butler is not a bully. He's a tough guy. That's what he is. And he doesn't just talk tough, he is tough. So what happened in these first couple of games was they got pushed around. More than anything, they got pushed around by a team that in terms of talent was inferior. But they had one guy who was tough as nails. One guy who was tough as nails, who instilled all that toughness in the rest of his crew. And they followed him. But then the Boston Celtics had one guy who decided, I'm going to stand up to this guy. And that's all it takes, to be honest with you guys. That's really all it takes. All it takes is one guy to stand up to the tough guy. Because when one guy stands up to the tough guy, the rest of us will get behind him. Even if he gets punched in the face by the tough guy. The rest of us will stand behind him and go, we fighting with you. We're going to get hit back, but we're going to fight with you. And that was Grant Williams. Grant Williams looked at Jimmy Butler like, you know what, yo? You ain't that tough. And I'm going to stand up to you. And when he did that, the rest of the crew decided that we're going to stand up to these guys. And once you stand up to the tough guy, what I equated to is I equated to the Detroit Pistons in the aspect of finally standing up to the tough guy. When you stand up to the bully, when you stand up to the tough guy, and they realize that they can't push you around anymore, and we got to actually play basketball. Well, then you find out who the better team is, and who is the better team. The Boston Celtics are the better team. They figured that out in Game 4, in Game 5, and in Game 6. And Game 6 got a little rough. But they figured that out. Yo, we're better than these guys. All they're doing is just playing harder than us. That's it. Everything we have, what they don't have. And that's more talent. That's more cohesion. They don't have that. We got that though. And when you saw them finally stand up to these guys, then eventually Jason Tatum started to accept the assignment. I'll cover Butler. Then Jaylen Brown started to accept the assignment more. I'll cover him too. And they completely neutralized Jimmy Butler in these last three games. In these last three games, I believe he's averaging 4 points a game in the fourth quarter. I'm sorry, 5 points a game in the fourth quarter. That 15-point outing, that 15-point outing that he had boosted it in Game 6. In Game 5, 0 points in the fourth quarter. In Game 4, 5 points in the fourth quarter. So 20 points. So he's averaging about 6 a game in the fourth quarter. They're getting good looks, the Miami Heat are. Bam is getting the shots that he would get during the regular season when he gets the ball on the wing, when he gets the ball on the left block. Because I thought it was interesting that Spo actually runs stuff for him. Spo actually runs stuff for him, and the stuff that he runs for him is kind of quick stuff where he'll get the ball on the left block and he'll be analyzing the floor, he'll be scanning the floor when it's something that should be quick. It's just you and Robert Williams. It's just you and Al Horford. Go. But he's too busy running the offense. Which, on some level, I can get with that. Absolutely. You got to run the offense and get the best look. But when they're running stuff for you, you have to be aggressive. And the shots that Bam was getting were good looks. He was getting that 8 to 10 foot jump shot in the mid post. He was getting that mid-range jump shot. We all know that Bam is the best around the rim. We all know that Bam is the best around the rim. He's also good in the mid-range. He's also great in transition when he has the basketball. I'd like to see him more aggressive. But I think the reason I don't is because, and I've been thinking about this for a while, I don't think he trusts his skill set. More than anything, I don't think Bam trusts his skill set. It's obvious that he works on his game because he's not the same player that he was when he showed up. His ball handling has gotten better. His mid-range shot has gotten better. I don't think it translates to the floor as much as it should because I don't think he trusts it, even though he puts the work in. So what that tells me is it's upstairs. Because the greats, they put the work in, and the reason why it translates from the regular season to the playoffs, and the reason why it translates from when I'm working out till we get on the floor is because it's upstairs. That's where the confidence comes in. Oh, I can do it. I got it. Duncan Robinson, one of the best long ball shooters in the game, who was hunted, actually gave the Miami Heat some good minutes. Those two, everybody's going to talk about those 2 threes that he missed. All right? Everybody's going to talk about those 2 threes, those 2 wide open threes that he missed. Because that's your job, brother. You're a long ball shooter. That's what you do. You shoot the basketball. And when you're wide open, especially in that juncture of the game, you got to knock down shots. You have to knock down shots. Now, what we have a tendency to do is when we get on here, and I don't think that I'm ESPN, Fox Sports, all of the mainstream media, I don't think that I'm that good. But I think that we have a tendency to overanalyze things a lot and use big words and make things sound more complicated. And by using big words, it sounds more impressive than it actually is. When in reality, it's really something simple. So, for example, we come out of the timeout. While we're in the timeout, let me start over. While we're in the timeout, who are you covering? I'm covering buckets. Who you got? I got Bam. Who you got? I'm going to cover Jason Tatum. I'm going to cover, who you got? I'm going to cover Al Horford. Who you got? I'm going to cover Robert Williams. So we all have our assignments. Not only do we have our assignments, we know what they're going to run. And the reason why we know what they're going to run, because we went over this. You know, we're not out here just blind. We went over this. We know what plays they run at the end of games. We know what plays they run at the end of quarters. We all know that. So because of that, we are prepared. So now it comes down to the simple stuff. Who you covering? What's your assignment? What is your assignment? Understand what in the word team. In the word team, there is M-E. That's me. And that's not me in a selfish way. That's me in a collective way. What I mean when I say that is, in order for us to achieve what we need to do, the first thing that needs to happen, I got to do my job. In order for us to get to where we need to go, you got to do your job. You got to do your job. I can't help you do your job until I do my job. And what is my job? I'm covering the inbounder, right? I'm covering the inbounder, and we all know who is the most dangerous guy on the floor? The inbounder. So that's my job. Why is Max Strus helping Jimmy Butler, who has his assignment? I'm covering Jason Tatum. Why is he denying Jason Tatum the basketball 27 feet away from the basket with 3 seconds on the shot clock? A Jason Tatum who at that point was 0 for 8 on the long ball. If he cracks that 28 feet away from the basket and he makes it, absolutely, brother. Game over. We'll see you in game 7. We will live with that. But instead, what do we get? We now get him helping on Jason Tatum And now I got a Derek White making a beeline straight to the basket. Nobody's blocking him out. Nobody's covering him. And he gets a tip in. That's something simple as just doing your job. I'm covering the inbounder. He's my responsibility, period. That was not my responsibility. A lot of people will say, well, that wasn't on Max Strus. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. There was no reason for me to be involved in that play at the top. None. Jimmy Butler was out there. Jimmy Butler was out there. He can handle that. That was his job. You do your job. That's how we succeed. Because again, I can't help you do your job until I do mine. And Max Strus did not do his job. Which would explain another reason why they lost this game. We also talk about breaking down plays and making things sound more complicated. They sound more complicated than they really are. So, another example. The Miami Heat, what Eric Spoelstra does at the end of games is he gets in a matchup zone. Well, when you see a matchup zone, a lot of people will get into a lot of verbiage and a lot of extracurricular talk instead of what it is. All a matchup zone is it's man-to-man, except we switching. My job in the zone is I'm covering an area. I'm covering this guy up until this point. Okay, now you take him. It's the same as covering man-to-man. It's the exact same thing, only except I'm just covering a zone. I'm just covering a specific area. That's all. So, what would be more beneficial to the Boston Celtics during this matchup zone? Because they're a long ball shooting team, and what Eric Spoelstra does is he extends the matchup zone. So the matchup zone isn't at the free throw line, or it's not at the mid post, or in the mid range. No, the Boston Celtics are a long ball shooting team. So we have to extend this zone. Usually when you play zone, you're playing zone, number one, because you can't match up man to man, or two, this team can't shoot the basketball. Well, that's not the case with the Boston Celtics, because they shoot the basketball. They weren't shooting it particularly great on Saturday night, but they do shoot the basketball. So instead of having, in order to what we call bust the zone, you got shooters like Jason Tatum. You got shooters like Marcus Smart, who I think he had 3 threes. Derek White. You got zone busters. So a simple switch. How do you break a zone? You attack the zone in spaces. You attack the zone in areas. Get to open spaces, and don't just go to those open spaces. Get to open spaces and attack. So Al Horford being in the middle of the zone. Why don't we take Al Horford out of the middle of that zone? How about we put our best playmaker in Jason Tatum there? So when we got the lineup of Jason Tatum, Derek White, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown on the floor, how about we put Marcus Smart and Marcus Smart and Derek White on the wings. We'll put Al Horford in the corner. We'll put Jaylen Brown in the other corner, and we'll put Jason Tatum in the middle of the zone. This is my best playmaker. He's my best playmaker, one of my best passers. If we get him involved in action early and often, we can get more plays and we can get more opportunities to score. Plus, which was another thing that I thought about, you can still run a lot of your man-to-man sets during a matchup zone. Well, OG, how can you run your man-to-man sets during the zone? What did I just tell you? A zone is a man-to-man, and they're switching. All these guys are doing is just covering an area. We can still run our man-to-man matchups and get to spots where we're going to be effective. Instead of just running here, run there with a purpose. Run to the mid post with a purpose. Run to the foul line with a purpose. Set screens with a purpose. When you're doing all of these things, that's how you bust the zone open. But instead, all the Boston Celtics have done primarily is just move the ball around on the wings. But I will tell you this. They fought and gotten back into this series. Not only did they get back into this series, they really put the Miami Heat in a bind. If the Miami Heat had an opportunity to win this series, and they didn't. I think they're going to have a real tough time going into Boston and winning tonight. They're going to have a real tough time going in there and winning. And I'm not sure that I see it happening. I'm not sure that I see it happening. The mentality has to be simple. We can't let these dudes out of here with a win. It's game 7. All the X's and O's, all of that stuff goes off the board. We know what they're doing. They know what we're doing. What this is going to come down to is we ain't letting these dudes out of here with a win. It's that simple. No matter what happens, we ain't letting these guys out of here with a win. We'll kill them first. And I'm here for it, guys. I'm here for it. Game 7 tonight. So it's the playoffs. It's the playoffs, baby. You know where to find me at. I am here. You'll see. I'll see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it.